Moment to show you guys what I do when a saw comes into the shop and it's not working. I haven't gone through this yet, so you're gonna see stuff as soon as I see stuff. This is a 029 Super Steel saw. So let me pull in closer and I'm gonna show you guys the stuff that I notice right away when I see the saw coming in the shop. So just doing a visual inspection of the outside. Notice all the oil here, caked on everywhere. They said the saw is not running. If you look right here, look at all the oil caked on the recoil assembly, and underneath that's where the ignition coil is. So one of the first things I'm going to check after I go through the back end system here is checking the ignition coil to make sure that's cleaned off, because sometimes if you have oil in there, it's going to keep the ignition coil from working properly. So that's a dead giveaway. He also said that the saw had been sitting for a couple years, so I am going to dump the gas and put fresh gas in there. I'm going to check the air filter, check around the carburetor. So the first thing I always do is start with a hang cord test. So let me show you guys what this one does on the hang cord test. So being it's an older saw, it's going to drop a little bit of compression. That doesn't mean that the saw is bad. So when it drops, it should be a slow drop, hold, slow drop, hold. If it's more of a clink, 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 that's when you have a compression issue. So let's see what it does. So it's holding, it's got compression. See that slow drop that I'm talking about? If it was a fast drop, then you know you got a problem with the piston in there. So I would say for the age of this unit, that should be a pass on that. We can go ahead and pop the muffler off. I'm going to spray a little WD-40 and some penetrating oil on there first. It's been sitting a while. Probably hit that with some PB Blaster. Let that cook on there while I'm going through the rest of the saw. Take a look at the muffler here, or the air filter on this side. See one real obvious issue why it's not running. The air filter is completely caked and trashed. So we're gonna go ahead and pop that off, because that's gonna have to be replaced regardless. And then I'm assuming the carburetor probably has debris in it at this point. And I'm gonna take the carburetor off, and I will go through and inspect back of the piston. If you notice all the debris around there, chances are when I take that plate off, it's gonna have debris inside there, so we can pop that off really quick. We got a hillbilly hobnob here with a zip tie. Obviously there's a part broken or missing there, so I'll go to the parts diagram and see what I need to get that back 100%. Go through, check the fuel lines. Probably just throw a new spark plug on it too. More than likely it's old. This is gonna have the old style Bosch on it. How I tell it's the old style Bosch, it's gonna have green lettering instead of blue lettering. So let's pop that off really quick. See the green lettering on there? Those are gonna be older. It's gonna have the removable top. Those are not as reliable. So we will replace that really quick. My go-to is always NGK. I prefer them over Bosch, but Bosch still makes a good spark plug. Those are the only two brands that I will put in the chainsaws. I've had too many issues with other stuff to know that it's not worth messing with. So even if the spark plug's working, the customer wanted us to replace it and service everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then just make sure when you're putting the boot back on, you have good contact with that coil in there. And then pop off this carburetor. Get you guys a little bit closer to that. Throw some lights on you. So I'll take this off. anytime you have a saw that's older like this, even if the customer took good care of it, you're probably still going to have debris inside the carburetor. That's just a given. It's going to affect the diaphragms. So we'll take all this all the way off. Something you want to watch out for too are these ground and contact springs. So if you get a bunch of debris in there, it's going to sit between making contact there and your saw won't shut off. So a lot of times people will think it's a bad ignition coil or broken wire. Is actually just dirty. So make sure you guys are cleaning those off. Pop that off. Cut that zip tie. Never seen that before on a saw, so I guess just hobnob in the field. These are going to push out instead of pulling through, so push them, pop that off. Put the screwdriver behind there. You have to break it free. Sometimes they stick a little bit. And then before we pop that off, let's get the fuel out of here. Otherwise, if there's any pressure inside there, you're going to get sprayed. I can already smell the fuel. It's bad. So it's got a red color to it. So more than likely it's going to be Echo Red Armor fuel, which is a good mix in. They tend to leave a lot of residual on the piston, which is good. So we got that off. And before I tear this apart, I'm just gonna blow it off really quick, get all the crap off of there. Head over here. I just cover both ends up when I'm doing this. So what I'm looking for are these two little holes right here on the bottom, the breather holes. Those are usually what are going to suck in chips inside the carburetor and cause diaphragm problems. So let's pop that off and see what it looks like inside. Get this so you guys can see it here. And I was right. So right here, we have debris inside the carburetor. So if you guys can see all that stuff, that is what I'm going to be cleaning out here. Drop that guy in the ultrasonic cleaner. A little bit of debris in there, not too bad. Nothing in the screen. I'll pop the other side off here too. That way when I'm putting it through the ultrasonic cleaner, I get that all cleaned out. I usually see a little bit on the metering diaphragm. The pump diaphragm was the other part that I just showed you. And these tend to stick a little bit, especially if they've been on there a while. Just make you got your screws all the way out. Just have to bust that loose. That one's actually pretty clean, so I will go ahead and put that through the ultrasonic cleaner. Now we're going to inspect the piston on this side. I know it's going to be hard for you guys to see this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to look straight through there. I'm going to pull the recoil string. Get this where you can see it a little better. I'm going to shine my light down there. I'm doing a visual on the piston. So what I'm looking for is I want to see horizontal machining marks on there. That means I'm not going to have a lot of wear. I don't want to see any vertical lines. That's going to be scoring. I'm seeing just a little bit of vertical at the bottom of the piston. So that might be an issue. But I'm going to go all the way through and look at both sides there. And that looks fairly good. So that one's probably going to be runnable. I am going to clean all this debris out all through here. Make sure the tank vent's working. Make sure all the connection points are clean. And then we can go over here. Take a look at the exhaust. Pop the muffler off. This probably hasn't been off ever. Pretty rusted on there. They're usually not this bad. When they're that rusted, they've usually come in contact with moisture or been sitting around an area with high humidity. So that can bring its own set of problems. So something, when you see a bunch of oil residue by the muffler, you're going to want to check the spark arrestor. That could be clogged. This end, it's probably clean, but I'm going to check it anyway when I'm inspecting the piston. If I can get it off here. Slowly but surely. And so there's the spark arrestor. That's pretty clean. Not really anything on there, just some rust. Pop the muffler off. And now we're going to look at the piston. So I don't know if you guys can see this at all. Looking right here, the piston, it does not have any vertical scoring, but what I am noticing, it is pretty bald. There's no horizontal machine marks on there. So what that means is you probably got a lot of wear on the piston, and more than likely it's going to have some blow-by, which is basically, in layman's terms, when there's combustion at the top end of the piston, instead of it holding tight on the cylinder wall, some of that pressure is going to blow by on the side of the piston, and you're not going to have the power. So it might need new rings on here, maybe a new piston. But we'll go through and inspect everything, and I'll try running it before I make that determination. If it's still not running after I've checked everything, then it is going to need the piston rings probably. So pop over to the side here, take a look at the ignition coil, see what kind of mess we got under here. There's a lot of oil residue. And all this is just caused by sloppy pours. When you guys are filling up your oil reservoirs, just make sure you're not dumping oil all over the place. So if you look in here, this is a complete disaster. So let me tip it around. That ignition coil is completely caked. I mean, like caked bad. So I've seen this before, but I don't see it that often. But that is 100% from the oil spillage in here. Just look at all that crap that's in there. So I'm probably going to pull the flywheel off, clean everything out. Because, yeah, that could be a running problem too. Look at all the debris on the contact point right there. Both of those. And even in the front of the ignition coil. So that is probably definitely an issue as well. So I'll clean the carburetor out, clean everything out tomorrow. I'll make a short showing you guys going through all this stuff. And we'll see if the saw runs after I get everything cleaned and serviced. Like I said, more than likely, if it doesn't work at that point, it's probably going to need a new piston and rings just because of the wear on the front of the piston there. But a lot of this stuff is service issues. You guys need to clean your stuff. Most of this stuff can be avoided if you guys just take care of your equipment. So hope you found the video helpful. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and like the video as well. Have a good rest of your night.